Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I know some of you are behind me, and if you want to take a moment to come out over this way, please feel free to do so if we have room. I'm Derek Miller. I'm the president and CEO of the Salt Lake Downtown Alliance. As you know, we're gathered here to recognize the accomplishments of a man who is a true champion of downtown Salt Lake City. And while he passed away 2 years ago, his spirit and his work remain. He will not be forgotten, not here, not by his family, not by his friends, and not by those whose lives he touched. That man is Vasilios Priskos. Vasilios was more than a real estate magnate and developer downtown. He was a man of character, passion, and vision. Never satisfied with the world as it was, he saw the possible and he found a way to make it a reality. Vasilios served diligently on the Salt Lake Downtown Alliance Board and the Salt Lake Chamber Board for many years, helping to steer the organizations and promote smart development throughout this city. In addition, Vasilios played a key role in helping to transform Main Street into the vibrant thoroughfare that it is today, with projects all around us like Eva's Bakery and Whiskey Street. He converted the Salt Lake Tribune building into a working campus with high-tech classrooms, student housing for Newmont College and Computer Science. And while others expressed concern about the future of Main Street and this beautiful city, Vasilios shaped it. By simply being who he was, he helped to create the city that we love today. And I want to appreciate Vasilios and recognize him not only for his influence on the city, but also for his personal warmth and attention. I recall that when I first moved back to Utah 15 years ago, I was invited to be on the Downtown Rising Board. I didn't know a single soul, and I was struggling with the awkwardness that often comes when you're new and surrounded by people who you don't know. Vasilios was the first person of that group to introduce himself to me after the meeting and to welcome me to the board. He was genuine. He was sincere. I have never forgotten that simple act of kindness that meant so much to me. For these and for many other reasons, we are pleased to celebrate the life and the legacy of Vasilios Priskos with this beautiful 8-foot bronze statue at the Vasilios Priskos Walkway, where he will forever hold vigil over his beloved city. We will now have the Priskos family and the speakers join for the unveiling of the statue, and following the unveiling, we will hear from the Very Reverend Archimandrite George Nikas, then the sculptor and artist Daniel Fairbanks, followed by Kip Paul from Cushman and Wakefield, and our concluding speaker will be the Very Honorable our Mayor, Jackie Biskupski. Will the family and the speakers please come forward?
It is an honor indeed for me to be here representing the Greek Orthodox Church of Greater Salt Lake, of which Vasilios was a pillar of. And for those of you who may not be aware, in our Orthodox faith, Vasilios' name day is always celebrated January 1st, which of course we celebrated the New Year 2 days ago. His patron saint, Saint Basil, was known as a founder of orphanages, schools, hospitals, and was someone who always bettered society. And indeed, Vasilios emulated that very saint as he did so here in Salt Lake. Let us pray. We give thanks to you, Heavenly King, eternal God and Father, who created all things visible and invisible, and who is present everywhere and fills all things. Master, look down from heaven upon those who have bowed their heads before you and abide with us at this very moment. Hear us, Lord our God, as we enter the new year of your goodness, you who fix times and seasons by your own authority, and in your hands hold our lives. We ask you, O God of peace and love, to keep our minds and souls permanently attached to the ideals of brotherhood that our beloved Vasilios Priskos honorably emulated, so that we may bear fruits of love and mutual cooperation today and in all future undertakings. We are grateful to you, Lord, for giving us your servant Vasilios as a shining and mighty pillar, not only of our local Greek-American community, but even more so of our Salt Lake City community. His business acumen was only surpassed by his love and service to his neighbor and fellow citizen. Indeed, the statue bearing his likeness that is being unveiled today shall stand here as a powerful testament and lasting memorial to all future generations of what can be achieved with your divine illumination and man's hard and honest work. May his passion for improving the lives of his fellow sojourners in the city and state become our own, as we continue his legacy for a brighter tomorrow. Therefore, Prince of Peace, we beseech you to shine with the knowledge of your truth and your unwaning light, especially in the hearts of Vasilios' beloved wife Shana, his children Christian, Nico, Alexander, and Aristotle, his friends, and in all of us present here today. Safeguard us as we commence this new year, which will surely offer us unique challenges and opportunities. Empower us to utilize all of our God-given talents that you have imbued us with, so that in the same manner that Vasilios benefited our society, we too may offer our best to the least among us. Almighty God, you have given us grace to offer this prayer with one heart and mind. We ask that you keep your servant Vasilios in the bosom of Abraham and his family and friends in the light of your countenance. Grant therefore unto us your divine protection and salvation, for your name is glorified unto the ages of ages. Amen.
I consider it to be a singular privilege to be the sculptor of a monument that honors the legacy and memory of Vasilios Priskos, one of the principal leaders of the Renaissance of downtown Salt Lake City. His legacy is the environment that surrounds us here. For my remarks, I'd like to speak briefly about the process of creating this statue and tell you a little bit about it. In making portraits, it's important to capture both the likeness and the personality of the individual. I worked closely with family members, friends, and colleagues of Vasilios to ensure that the likeness is accurate, that the expression recalls his personality, and that the pose reflects his typical manner. What you see is the way he often stood, equal weight on both legs with arms folded. The pose is intended to show him standing proudly on Main Street, where he spent much of his life, with an expression that depicts kindness and warmth to those who gaze on his face. The statue depicts not only his overall appearance, but it also has some details that most viewers might not notice immediately. As a child, he cut his chin on broken glass, leaving a scar, which is hinted in the statue on the right side of his chin. He was meticulous in his clothing, with excellent suits and ties, monogrammed cufflinks, a Rolex watch, and a wedding band studded with 5 diamonds, all depicted in this statue. The statue itself is 1¼ times life size, which is an ideal size to make someone literally larger than life, and yet not so large that it makes him overbearing. I sculpted it first as a quarter life size maquette in clay, and had the family members and friends approve it. We then enlarged it to full size in clay. Skilled professionals at the Adonis Bronze Foundry in Alpine, Utah cast the statue in bronze, and that foundry is one of the foremost artistic bronze foundries in the world. We are fortunate to have them in Utah. We chose a subtle verdigris patina with mingled browns, greens, and golds, similar to the natural patinas of ancient Greek bronze statues, reminiscent of Vasilios' Greek heritage. Speaking of which, notice that certain features of his face reflect those ancient Greek statues, such as the shape of his nose where it meets the brow. While the statue is set nicely on its current concrete foundation, we will finish it later this spring with a granite pedestal with his name carved into the stone. An explanatory plaque will accompany it to let viewers know of his contributions. In closing, let me thank the Priskos family. It has been an honor to come and know Vasilios in a way that only a portrait artist can. And you, the members of his family, have been extraordinarily supportive and helpful through this process. I hope this statue preserves his memory, most of all for you. I also am grateful to have become your friend. I also wish to express gratitude to Stephen Price of Price Realty, who had the vision and motivation to make this project happen. I wish he could be here today, but he is unavoidably out of town. I look forward to bringing him here when he returns. And thank you to the friends and professional colleagues of Vasilios, the Downtown Alliance, the government of Salt Lake City, the engineers, planners of the site, and Mayor Biskupski for unending support, logistical arrangements, facilitation, and professionalism. Lastly, this is personally an extraordinary honor for me. I was born less than a half mile from this site, raised in Sugar House, and have considered Salt Lake City to be my home, even when I have lived elsewhere. As a professor at UVU, I remain physically and emotionally close to my childhood home. I am a member of the fourth generation of Fairbanks artists. This statue joins my father's, uncle's, and grandfather's public monuments, such as the Eagle Gate, the Jacqueline Memorial, and the monuments on Temple Square, and my great-grandfather's paintings, which are displayed at various sites within a short distance of here. This monument brings the legacies of the Priskos and Fairbanks families together, as both have permanently enhanced the beauty and vitality that is downtown Salt Lake City. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Kip Paul. I'm a broker with Cushman & Wakefield and a friend of Vasilios. Vasilios was a visionary and a risk taker. 20 years ago, downtown Salt Lake City was a little forgotten, particularly Main Street. Vasilios recognized that opportunity, made it into a business, made it into a career, and made a fortune. Some of my favorite memories with Vasilios were when he would call and say, "Let's go to lunch." So we'd actually meet right here in front of the Tribune building. Now the problem with that was going to lunch with Vasilios was an event because you couldn't walk more than 10 or 15 feet without running into somebody that he knew. And that would of course generate a conversation. We'd wrap it up, we'd go another 20 feet and repeat the same exercise. And that's before you got to the restaurant, of which he would know half the people in there. So I think we need to step back and ask ourselves, why are we here in 35-degree freezing weather? And the answer is every time you encountered Vasilios, he exuded that, there you are, I've been looking for you. You're the most important person in my life. And I think each and every one of us here feel that Vasilios was our absolute best friend. And what a great compliment to Vasilios and a compliment to each of you here today. I would also like to say the only thing that Vasilios had more passion for and more love for than downtown Salt Lake City was his beautiful wife Shauna, the boys Christian, Nico, Xander, and Telly. And I'd also like to mention Steve Price, who envisioned this event, this sculpture, and who could not be here today. So let us all continue on and carry on the tradition of Vasilios with passion and enthusiasm for our great city. Thank you.
In June of 2018, we gathered here to honor the life of one of downtown Salt Lake City's giants, Vasilios Priskos. On that day, when I proclaimed the coming days as Downtown Week, we also announced that forevermore, the alley between Newmont College and the Eccles Theater would be known as Vasilios Priskos Way. Today we are here to complete this honor of a man who gave much of his time and resources to creating the vibrant and livable downtown we enjoy today. We need only to look at this space to understand how Vasilios thought about development in our great city. He was a long-term thinker and a man who understood vision. Vasilios understood that the city wanted and deserved a revitalized Regent Street along with the Eccles Theater, a grand public space that would provide a connection between the historic heart of downtown on Main Street to the community space at Galvin and the energy of City Creek. To make this a reality, Vasilios put aside the possibility of development of a building he owned on Main Street and instead sold the space to the city so we could create what is now Vasilios Priskos Way. My dear friend Vasilios loved Salt Lake City. He respected Salt Lake City and the people who live here. He loved this community that partnered with him over and over again. He supported and advised many, including me, giving freely of his time and talents, and perhaps most importantly, raised upstanding sons who undoubtedly are continuing his legacy. I want to thank Shauna and the boys and Vasilios' mother for letting this community have so much of his time. I know that wasn't easy, but he certainly made a huge impact on the lives of all of us. For those of us involved in this project, providing a place for Vasilios' spirit to be part of the comings and goings of the city he loved and nurtured was not only fitting, but it was appropriate. Nothing will replace the warmth Vasilios exuded to all who knew him. We will always remember his passion and zest for life. Husband, father, entrepreneur, and philanthropist, Vasilios touched the lives of many in our community. His death left a hole in our hearts and took from us a true champion of downtown Salt Lake City. Today, we dedicate this statue on Vasilios Priskos Way to ensure that not only will he always be remembered, but that his vision for a grand and vibrant Salt Lake City lives on. Thank you.
Thank you again for joining us today. We appreciate you taking this time to honor a man who has done so much for our capital city. His legacy in downtown Salt Lake City will be remembered for decades to come. This concludes our official presentation. Thanks again.